Hi, this is Maggie and welcome back. Today I'm talking to Helen, a voice coach. So we'll be discussing how to speak more intentionally and to use our voice for more clarity and presence. We discussed the 4 Ps: pace, power, pitch, and pause. And Helen actually challenged me to try it out right away. She live coached me to speak with more intention. So if you'd like to also make a bigger impact when you speak up in meetings or when you tell your kids to stop doing something, this episode is for you. Enjoy. You're listening to Leadership's Insights, Navigating Career and Life. I am Maggie Rombach, your host, bringing inspiring stories and practical advice on leadership, career development, and work-life balance. So welcome to Leadership's Insights, brought to you by Maggie's Mindset Mastery Academy. And today we have another expert guest, and I'm delighted to have Helen with us today, because I just recently benefited from a little workshop Helen was running, and I found it super inspiring. So Helen, with no further ado, I pass it right to you. Tell us a little bit more what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Maggie, for inviting me for this conversation. I always start with this. I come from New Zealand, and I say that straight off the bat because otherwise people stop listening to me and listen to my strange accent to try to understand where I come from. So originally from New Zealand, but was brought up in a really theatrical family. You know, they've got some families that are really sporty. Well, mine was theatrical. And that is sort of the birth of my story, really, in terms of what I'm doing now. I've spent the last almost half my life now in Europe, and most of that in Switzerland, near Geneva, near you, Maggie. And my background was in human resources and event management, especially in non-governmental organizations in the health sector. And that's where I realized what my mission is. I saw so many really incredible researchers and projects by incredibly talented people, but when they got to stand up on stage, they couldn't communicate. You know, the situation where it's sort of reading the slide or mumbling, spending too much time, speaking too quickly. And that's when I realized I really wanted to help people like that to get their really important messages across. And so now I am a founder of Present Potential SRL, and I provide coaching and training on the voice, on confidence, and on general speaking skills.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I'm realizing with your help and also with the Toastmaster journey I started, I'm discovering my voice like literally this year. So it's so powerful what you're doing. So when we prepared this, we said we wanted to go really to focus a little bit on intention in our communication.
Mm-hmm.
So as we dive into that, before we go into that specific topic, perhaps you can just say a little bit more what you do as a vocal coach. So what type of work would you be doing and how would that connect with intentions?
Sure. So most people come to me because they lack control over their voice and they feel like it's holding them back. So a vocal coach helps them discover their voice and to gain more control over it, to use it intentionally to get their message across or support their message. As you know, it's not just the words we say, but it's how we say it. And that's what is really at the core of what I do. Most people come to me because they either have a problem with their voice, so they lose their voice, or they've been told that they're monotonous, or that they're not loud enough or assertive enough, and that's holding them back in their careers and potentially personal lives as well. And so I help them understand their current voice and give them tools to guide them on the way to have a fuller, more complete and wider range in their voice.
Fantastic. And that includes the 4 Ps, right? So when I participated in your half-day workshop, we talked about the 4 Ps. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? And by the way, I think there's a fifth one, but I tell you after to see if you agree.
Okay. I love that because lots of people add a fifth P. So it's a way to describe how to have more vocal variety. So a lot of people say, oh, you need more vocal variety, but what does that mean? How do you do that? Right. So I broke it down into 4 main concepts. So pitch is the first P. Pitch means the music of your voice, how high or how low you speak. Okay, most of us are stuck on quite a limited range. We have 2 or 3 notes that we gather around, but if we can extend our range, we just open up so much more possibilities of what we can do with our voice. And included in pitch is the melody. So the melody is the up and the down, it's the song of the voice, and it's different in every language, but that also creates a lot more variety than having a monotone or less melody. So that's the first one, pitch. The second one is pace. So that's how quickly or slowly we're speaking. And so when we vary our pace, we actually connect with the audience and increase or decrease their heart rate with ours. And that can really create a lot of emotion with the pace. Pitch, pace, power. So that's the volume. So we can speak quieter, and that can be very powerful as well. Or we can speak louder. And it's not just in terms of volume, but it's also intensity of the voice. So we can let a lot of more air in, and it gives a totally different tone to when we speak with very little air and we're very clear. Okay. And then the final P is pause, which is part of pace, but I put it as a separate P because it is so important. You see what I did there? I always do that. It's my little trick. So a pause creates suspense, and it highlights whatever word that you pause before and after. Most of us are rushing through whatever we're presenting, our communication, but giving a pause helps the audience because it gives time for them to absorb what we're saying and sort of repeat it back in their own heads. And it gives us time to breathe correctly, as well as think about what we want to say next. And this can really make a huge difference to how concise and clear we are, and how to also minimize those filler words, the like, which creep in and actually affect our credibility. So those are my 4 Ps, and I'd love to hear yours.
But actually, you said it's about vocal variety, so probably it's not even a proper P. No, when we discussed that with your friends, we came up with performance because we felt like, and maybe that's the summary of them all, that, when you really get yourself into a mindset of performing, you act out in a different way. You kind of get into character, which might then help with the 4 Ps.
So performance, I consider as the body language, the voice, the use of stage, the presence, in contrast to the content, which is the words that you say and how you structure that. So I usually work with people on content, possibly first, and then on the performance elements. Because if you don't have the content, the performance is just fluff, right? So that's why I don't put it in the voice specifically. But you're right, it's a hugely important piece of communication, because in a way we are performing.
Sure, yeah. So let's get back to the idea of intention. So let's think maybe of a few scenarios of like how would our voice or our performance change depending on the intention we have?
Sure. So there's a good sentence that I like to use to illustrate this. We need to talk. Okay, that's the dreaded sentence in any sort of relationship. But it depends on the intention to how it is received. So, for example, if you really need to have a serious conversation, but you want to create an environment that's warm and supportive, you're not going to say something like, we need to talk, which sounds very aggressive, right? You'd say, Maggie, we need to talk, right? So the voice is pulled back a little bit. It's lighter, there's more melody and a softer tone, and possibly a little bit higher in your range. Whereas we need to talk, something I'd probably say to my children when they're in trouble, it's lower in my range, it's more sharp in terms of the pace. We need to talk. It's direct. It's like like a bullet, straight down the line. And that gives you a different feeling. And one of the things that I've noticed is people speak a lot of the time without intention, and they don't realize the impact it has on someone. So this is why it's so important to think carefully about intention, and that helps you choose your words and then how you say them as well. So maybe we can get you, Maggie, to try that out. We need to talk. You want to try it as a nice, gentle invitation?
Okay, sure. I didn't expect that, but here we go. Helen, we need to talk.
Good. It sounded like you were really nervous, though.
Yes.
Yeah, you were nervous because I threw that at you. Try again, a little bit more warm and welcoming. Like, just really have the intention of, I want to invite you into this conversation.
Helen, we need to talk.
Yeah, better. We need to talk. So a little bit lighter in your voice, less direct. We need to talk was a little bit too held back. And I think you even had a rising intonation at the end, which sounded like a little bit like a question. So you weren't sure of yourself. Good. Do you want to try more assertive?
Sure. Helen, we need to talk.
Oh, that sounds pretty serious there. Good. So same words said differently, using your voice differently, but the intention behind it can really make a difference to how the conversation actually goes, because I'm going to feel something when I hear those words, which are automatically going to make me feel safe or afraid.
Wow, that's so powerful. And it's such a simple sentence. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone can do it. Everyone knows how to do it intuitively, because we speak differently in different situations, right? But sometimes we just don't think about what our intention is and how we can match that with our voice. It's really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that was probably really the breakthrough moment for me in our workshop, in your workshop that I did, when you made me act out like Mustafa, like the Lion King, the dad of the lion, and just really getting into that character and into that energy that really helped me to then adjust my words and my intentions. So yeah, it's really powerful to get clear on that.
That's why theatre is bringing in theatrical and improvisational techniques into my work is really important, because we only know what we know, and sometimes we need to almost become or lean on becoming someone else, or an image of someone or a thought of someone, to go beyond our normal voice and our normal behavior. So that's why, yeah, using prose such as from the Lion King that you did was really powerful for you.
Yeah,
because you weren't Maggie, you were really Mustafa, and that allowed you to explore your voice in a way that you probably have never done.
Yes, that was really cool. And so now we talked about voice. So also linking it to the performance and the body language. So now you have your intention, what you want to say. So how does body language come into play now?
Sure. I always say that you are not a talking head. You are your complete body, and it's definitely an integral part of it. I think the simplest way to think about it is to use your voice and your body in a congruent way. Right? So sometimes I give the example of, I'm really happy to be here. And if you're just listening to that, I did that with a body language that was closed and sort of nervous and small, and my voice matched that as well, which is incongruent to my words of being happy to be here. Hi, I'm happy to be here. You've got open hands, open face, smile, and a lighter tone in your voice, which matches the words that I was using. So body language is, as long as we're being congruent with what we're saying, it's okay. And I think the best rule of thumb is probably, if in doubt, just be open. Keep your hands open. There's this, I think we call it the power, forgotten the word, the power sphere, sort of, so around your chest to your stomach area, where you can keep your hands not too big, not too small, and always hands open. for general conversations. Now, if you want to get more strict or aggressive on things, then you can change your body language accordingly. But most of our conversations as a leader would be something open and warm and welcoming and accessible. So as long as our body language shows that and matches the words that we're using, then you're doing well.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, it does. And I was always wondering, I'm German, and Angela Merkel had like her thing. I don't know if people see it, like, her thing, like her triangle. And
yes.
And it didn't really feel open, but I guess it was still grounding for her. But yeah, it's just interesting how some leaders use that really intentionally.
Yeah, they probably learn it. There are different poses that mean different things. So this is the steeple, which is a power pose, and then that's the inverse steeple essentially that she uses, and it is grounding. Maybe she had some funny distracting hand movements that whoever her coach was encouraged her to do, and it's definitely more open than closed hands, right, or closed body where you cross your arms or you put your hands behind your back. So having the reverse steeple is a kind of grounding position for her, and reasonably open and stable, which is probably what she was going for.
Ah, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess the other bit about speaking, particularly public speaking, or I don't know, presentations at work or whatever it might be, is I guess we all have nerves. So everybody gets nervous. I love being on stage, but I'm still nervous, right? So Helen, can you give us a secret what to do?
I don't know if it's a secret because I talk about it all the time. Nerves are not something to avoid. They're a natural, normal human reaction. And just because we feel nervous, whatever that feels like to us physically or mentally, it doesn't mean stop. It doesn't mean don't do it. It's a warning bell, but it's more a gentle warning saying, hey, this is important to you. Make this count, rather than stop, don't do it, you will die, which is what our nervous system is telling us essentially. So what I teach people is to know how it feels for us, because it's very personal, to be able to recognize it, in what situation we feel more nervous, and then to try to channel that into positive energy instead of stopping us, going, oh no, I'm too nervous to do this, my hands are shaking. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you need to manage it. But I've got lots of tips if you want to talk about that on how to manage your nerves.
So if you can just share one tip how to actually channel it into positive energy, just like one little tip that people could use immediately.
I think the most important is to regulate your nervous system through breathing. Easiest thing. So when you're nervous, your heart rate goes and your breathing can go quite shallow into your chest. So if you can just consciously breathe into your stomach, breathe in slowly through your nose, and breathe out even slower or for longer, and that will tell your body that you're in control rather than in a fight or flight situation. So that's my go-to. If ever I feel nervous about whatever, I just try to breathe and regulate my nervous system. Wow. It's no surprise. It's not a new one, I don't think. But this is the go-to because you've always got your breath. It's no big deal. You can always do it, and it's so effective.
And it just made me realize breathing is such a superpower. I've really gotten into that also through mindfulness, and it just now pops up everywhere. It's just something we don't use intentionally enough. Normally, and just doing that can be really helpful, right?
There's so much research now on that. I read some excellent books that I can share with you on breathing, the power of breathing, and it sounds so silly, right? Because it's like, well, how many, we take 20,000 breaths a day or something like that, ridiculous number. We were never taught how to do it, and yet what I see in many of my clients is that we've created bad habits with breathing, with shallow breathing, with not being able to control it really, and sort of speaking while you're breathing in, and all these, holding your stomach still. And there's a whole lot of bad habits that we've created that affect our nervous system and our voice. So that's why breathing is so important to me. And I'm constantly trying to learn new techniques and upskilling in that area because it's really fascinating.
So here's an amazing thing I tried and learned the other
Mm-hmm.
day. So I'm a lifelong horse rider, and I was
Mm-hmm.
probably a bit full of myself thinking I've done that for so long. So I know it all. And then my teacher changed and I completely unlearn and relearn. And it's just amazing. But one of the things she made me do is basically slow down the horse or even change gears of the horse by breathing.
Mm.
It's really like in a proper fast trot and you go like, and the horse, I mean, they're so amazing animals in that sense anyway, but they pick it up that you're calming down and they go like, okay, cool, I can walk. And they slow down. It's just magic.
So cool. Yeah, it's like magic. I mean, horses are so intuitive, aren't they? They're so in tune with the people around them and the other horses. So yeah, that's such a cool it's a great way to practice your own breathing and seeing the impact on things around you. Yeah, it
Yeah,
goes
you have,
beyond you.
yeah, and you have immediate feedback. They're so good. You just see immediately. Do they notice what you've done? Or they're just like, I don't care. I didn't realize, I didn't pick up a difference. So
Yeah,
let's just keep going.
very cool.
Cool. Look, that was already kind of the big questions we kind of thought about beforehand. I don't know, is there anything else that pops up to your mind linked to intentions or maybe you're thinking of people listening to us? Any other top tip you could give people that are maybe a bit afraid of getting on stage or that are worried about their voice, or just one of your standard tips that can be really powerful?
Well, I think there's another quite obvious but overlooked tip is make time for practice. So many people I meet these days, so I don't have time, they don't have time to practice and things. But honestly, you're selling yourself short and you're robbing the audience of the clarity that comes and the confidence that comes with proper effective practice. So you don't need to practice for hours and hours and hours on end, but even going into a meeting with a clear intention and your three things that you want the people in the meeting to think, feel, or do, even that can change everything, right? So just take the time to be intentional, especially as leaders, to think about what you are trying to achieve. And each meeting's a little bit different, even if it's the same message. And then marry that with your voice. But that takes practice. But at least have time to practice what you want to say and be intentional about it.
I love that. It's so simple, but it's so true. And I'm so fed up with these meetings. Look, these endless meetings where people meet to meet. And because they haven't done this, discussions just go on forever because actually nobody thought about what they actually want to get out of it. So
Well,
yeah, I
and
think that's
the,
really
the
powerful.
number of wasted opportunities to connect with each other is just incredible with these meetings that we've set up on a weekly or monthly basis where no one really knows the point, no one really prepares for it, and no one gets anything out of it. And it creates these cultures of frustration and wasted time. And then everyone's, oh, I've got meetings. I remember once I had I was speaking to a manager and she said, oh no, I don't have time to do work today. I've got meetings back to back. And that really shocked me and actually terrified me because the meetings, if you're not working in the meetings, if you're not moving towards achieving the goals in your role or in the business's role, then what are you even doing in these meetings? So there's a lot to change. I mean, the meetings is again another podcast, Maggie, because I've got I've got quite strong opinions on good meeting practices, and again, they're not hard. None of this is really difficult. It just takes intention. So that wraps quite nicely up to the theme of our conversation.
Absolutely. And the other thing I would add, and I'm also very passionate about that topic, it takes intention, but it also takes practice and showing up regularly. Because, at work, we develop these amazing etiquette about how to run a meeting, what to do, and it's all there. We have all the agreements signed out up by our leadership. Everybody is on board that that's what should be done.
Mhm.
But if you don't hold yourself accountable every time and keep on going until it's a new habit, it's not becoming a habit.
No, and then it affects the culture, right? It's the little things that affect the culture. And so it's normal to have time wasting meetings and lack of preparation and things like that. So I think everyone knows it needs to be better, and people need to take time to prepare and be intentional about their presentations, about their meetings, all of that. But we're so busy being busy, and we don't see that as an integral part of it. And so it seeps into this, helps create this culture of running around with, just being busy and showing you're busy and not actually getting your work done. So it's very frustrating.
Yeah. So we should do another podcast just on meetings.
For sure. We might get a little bit passionate about it though, because it's really something that frustrates me.
Yeah, you're not alone. But cool. So Helen, this was the first part. And as I warned you, there's the quick fire burst questions, which
I'm ready.
Will go like this. I throw a question at you. I challenge you to answer in one word to the extent possible. And then we see how that goes.
Okay.
Ready to go?
Yes.
Fantastic. So could you describe your leadership style in one word? One word.
Collaborative.
Nice. What's the key to successful teamwork?
Communication.
Of course. One must-read book.
Soundtracks. It's got a longer sentence title, but Soundtracks by John Acuff.
Ah, great. Another one I have to look up. I don't know that one. And what type of dream job would you do if it wasn't your current one?
I really struggled with this. I think it might be my current one because I can't think of anything else. I love what I'm doing. It continues to evolve. So a speaker coach.
But would you be tempted to get really back into acting or on stage also as a job?
I would like to have more opportunities to be on the stage, professionally and personally. But, I was very much, even though I did it from when I was very young, I don't think I'm that talented to like be on Broadway or anything, so it's always a passion. And I think I've taken the best of that and made it into something that I enjoy doing as a profession. And I think if it becomes your job, it becomes a whole other thing. And I don't think I'm that talented enough to sort of go down that route.
Okay. Oh, it's amazing if you already have your dream job, and you're helping people at the same time.
Well, that's really important for me. Very, very important.
Great. So if you could have a superpower like flying or teleporting or whatever, what would it be?
Flying, definitely. Even though I'm scared of heights.
So that goes nicely together.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. But when I have flying dreams, whatever that means, it feels so liberating. And I love watching the birds sort of soar and swoop. And yeah, so I'd have to get over my fear of heights. But maybe I would if you were flying rather than just being on something stable looking down.
Well, it's funny you say that because, like back when I traveled New Zealand, actually, I did all the crazy stuff people do in New Zealand. So amongst other things, I went skydiving. Ooh. And, actually, interestingly, once you're out of the plane, you're so high up that actually you're not really afraid of heights because it's too far away. You can't even get the distance to the ground. So maybe maybe flying could work.
Yeah. Did you do bungee jumping?
I did, not in New Zealand, but yes, I tried.
Yeah, I did that
was harder actually.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I did bungee jumping. I haven't done skydiving. Maybe that needs to go on the list.
On the wish list. Here you go. Yeah. Cool. And what are you most grateful for?
Connection. You asked for one word. It's
challenging. I know you're amazing. You really followed the script.
I'm a good girl. I always try to do what I'm told. I try to find one word for each.
Wonderful. That's so cool. Thank you. So, as we wrap this up, do you have one parting thought, like to your younger self or to just anyone listening, starting out or stepping up? What would you share?
Trust yourself. Trust is the opposite of fear. And everyone's just figuring it out. So trust yourself, trust your intuition, and go for it. Don't hold yourself back with fear.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Helen. That was really inspiring. That was really great. I'm sure listeners will take away a lot. So yeah, thanks and bye for now.
Thank you, Maggie.
So that was it for today. Thanks for listening. And if you like this, subscribe and share it with anybody who might benefit from it too. And remember, leadership isn't a title, it's a mindset. And when you realign with what matters most to you and take one intentional step, You create ripples at work, at home, and in how you live. So pause, breathe, and begin. Because change always starts from within and with one little step. So what ripple are you creating today? Bye for now and see you next time.